Hello and welcome to the show. Listen, I just want to thank you for being a part of the Tammy Show. It has been an honor to have you view the show and write comments and send me your suggestions for shows and all of that. And I'm just excited about it. So, welcome to the show. And I just want to say that this month, the whole year, not just this month, the whole year is about the power of now. And we are going to have our special guest, Miss Michelle Alexander. She's the chief money management officer. I call it a financial expert on the Tammy Show, and she's going to be on here, and she's got a lot to tell us because we're getting ready. We're in this new year. We're in 20 days of the new year, and so we need to kind of figure out what we need to do for our finances. So I'm just so pleased that she's back, and I'm pleased that you're here. So I just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy because it's coming up next.
The Curry Insurance Agency has served the community for over 30 years with hundreds of trained representatives to assist you in selecting health plans. Curry Insurance Agency is the largest marketing insurance group in the state of South Carolina for Medicare Advantage and represents all major health carriers. Curry's motto is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Call the Curry Agency today at 803-536-0889.
Welcome back to the show. I told you we've got a great show planned for you. We're going to be talking about finances. But before I do that, I always do what's on my mind. So we're into 20 days now of January, of the new year. One thing that is on my mind, and this really is the main thing, is that I want people to be safe. Not only do we have the Omicron virus, but there are some other variants, as I should say, of COVID that are coming up that people aren't talking about. And so I want you to make sure that you are diligent about wearing your mask, about social distancing, and still washing your hands and making sure that you're keeping your home clean. I mean, because I'm a microbiologist, as I tell you, viruses like dark, damp, and dirty places. And so making sure that we keep ourselves and our environment clean. That's one of the things. Get that Lysol, girl. Get that Lysol, guy. Have it ready. Or what is that, back to ban or whatever kind of ban that they have. Michelle, you'll remind me what that is. But make sure that you have the disinfectants, okay? So that's what's on my mind. I also want to say my brother has COVID. And so I love you, my brother, Chucky. Just take care of yourself. His name is Charles McCartry, but we call him Chucky, okay? But I spoke with him, and he's doing okay. As you know, if you do have the vaccine, if you have been vaccinated, right now, yes, you may get the virus, period. This is going to end up being something like the flu, okay? There are going to be many variations of it and all of that. But one of the things that I do know, if you are vaccinated, and that's up to you, all right, you will probably not have to go to the hospital. You will be sick, yes, but you won't have to have that ventilator. All right. So I'm just kind of just talking to you. Like I said, I'm a microbiologist. I've seen what they look. I know what the viruses look like. I mean, I studied this. And so I want you to be careful. All right. So that's what's on my mind, folks. I appreciate you for letting me say what's on my mind. All right. So now I want to introduce our guest for tonight. We're going to be talking about finances the whole time. So get your pad and pencil ready. Our guest is the Chief Money Management Officer and the owner of AJM Financial. She is back to help us kick off our financial journey for 2022. Come on out, Michelle.
Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Michelle Alexander. How are you?
I am awesome. How about you?
I'm doing well. Listen, thank you for coming back on this show. You ended the show with us with what we did in
Yes.
21
Yeah.
and what we needed to do to get ready to go into
Mhm.
2022. But
Mhm.
I wanted you back on this show because I really wanted you to focus on struggles and financial planning and what we need to do. So, Michelle, first, before I do that, tell us what you've been up to.
Oh my gosh. The biggest thing I'm up to right now is not totally financial, but it is personal, and it is using this month as a sabbatical. Most
Mm.
people don't do that because they think you have to go some faraway place, which I really wanted to. But when I was let go of that job after 19 years, I didn't think it was prudent to spend thousands of dollars to go to the mountains in Tibet. So I said, well, I'm going to
Mhm.
have to make it work here in the States. So I
Mhm.
just said, let me use this time because I usually do a type of fasting, so I'm not eating any junk food. And that's
Mm.
sacred for me because I love my cakes and my cookies and my chocolate and all of that. So that's off the table. I
Mhm.
don't watch any television. So there's no news, there's no nothing. Last
Really?
year I did about 52 days. I
Mhm.
didn't stop it at the 31 days. I extended it basically until like the 1st of March. So, so you have that time to be able to focus on
Wow.
things. You got to keep the outside world out sometimes. So that's what I've been up to. So that's why I've been kind of quiet on social media, no chatting on the phone, no gossiping on the phone. If it's not pertinent or important, everything shuts down so you can take that time to fill up and really know where you want to go. It's
Wow.
hard to make resolutions because people, the end of the year, they're busy shopping
Mhm.
and eating.
Yeah.
So, you're not really making resolutions. So you really wait until January 2nd anyway. So why not take this time and think about that? So that's what I really want to focus on and have been doing. So that's what this month is about. So that's what I've really been up to. And it allows you to read more. So that
Yes.
helps as well. Always keep
Right.
on that reading.
Wow. And as I said, I don't do resolutions. I set goals
Mhm.
because resolutions come and go. Goals, you're going to keep them in your mind and you're going to push forward and just make those goals come to fruition and those dreams.
Absolutely.
And we are living our best lives now. And with the accident that I had and everything, and I'm alive today. So
Yes.
I'm taking each moment to do everything that I can do and enjoy it. So let's talk about looking at starting financial planning. I don't know. We have an electrical, it sounds like some static in our line. It may be Michelle on your end. I'm not sure.
Do you still hear it? I don't hear anything.
No, we hear it on our end. So we're just going to go with the flow. We're good now. But
Okay.
I wanted to say, starting financial planning for the new year, what do we need to do?
Well, one of the things I tell people, and I'm going to start it off this way. I shouldn't even say just tell people, working with a client, we just had a meeting yesterday and I was, telling her this is the key thing. Personal finance is really just common sense. A lot of
Hmm.
people making it so much about jargon and I think commercialism and all of that stuff. It's common sense. It really is about the priorities you set. What do you want? How much you have? What are you going to do with what you have? That's the
Hmm.
basics of it.
Hmm.
I'm reading a book now of a lady whose namesake is mine. And she talks about Big Mama, who was her grandmother who raised her. And I know, yeah, and I had this book for over 10 years. But when I'm reading it now, I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. This lady,
Hmm.
I love her. I wish I could have
Hmm.
met her. She was
Wow.
on point with everything. So it really is about what do you really want to do? It's the common sense things. If you know that, okay, you make 50,000, people get high off, I make 50,000, but you don't bring home 50,000.
That's right.
You have to work with your net pay. And with that, you have to know what you really can do. Stop using your credit card to supplement your life because this is beyond the lifestyle point at this point. And even your debit card, I talk about that a little bit in the article that I wrote, about
Mhm.
using that debit card because people just swipe. You don't feel anything when you swipe. You don't think about when you're swiping because you're just paying for it. Oh, to come out my checking account. But then later, it may be an unexpected bill, as they say, unexpected comes up, now you're overdrawn. You have an overdraft. Now you have
Mhm.
a fee from the bank. You had this a few times. Now they don't want you as a customer. Now you hate the banks.
Yeah, come on. And
You,
so, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry,
no, I was
Michelle.
going to say, and oh, that's not the bank's fault. You got to know that. Just like those cell phones where people decide something happened or you brought too much and now you owe $500 and you don't want to pay it and it's on your credit report. You chose to open that account there. You chose to buy something extra and you had to swipe and you didn't pay attention. And now the bank doesn't want you because you don't have overdrafts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Right. And so that leads me to my next question. Financial emergency, an emergency fund. Talk about that, because a lot of people, we talk about emergency funds, but a lot of people really don't understand that you really have to have some money there. Even if you start with 5, 10, 20, $25, put something away. Talk about that for us.
That's my favorite topic
I
anyway,
know.
about all of this stuff is. But let me tell you a story. This thing is so funny to me. So me managing things the way I did, there was amount for everything. And yes, not because I heard from someone else, I use envelopes. And I'm going to tell you how so
Mm.
people understand they need to put my name on that and stop using somebody else. I was 18 years old at my first job. And my goal was to prove that it's not about how much you make, is what you do with what you make. And I talked about that in another article I wrote with the first job at 17. But at this job, this was a real job, paying job. You get paid every 2 weeks. So when I didn't have a bank account. So I cashed my check at the bank downstairs where the check was initiated from.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this cash. I'm at my desk and I'm trying to figure out, okay, hey, there were these envelopes at the top in our little cubby hole at the top. We would never use them.
Wow.
And I asked, I said, what are these for? They're reply envelopes, but they only went out at certain times, and which wasn't often. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided to take them and rip that little flap off the back, and I wrote on it tokens, lunch,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Because one thing I was going to do was to make sure I had money to get
Mm-hmm.
back to this job to pay me so I can get some more money.
Right.
And being from NY, you can't take tokens to the store and buy milk. You can only get on the bus or the
Plus.
train. So
Mm-hmm.
once I purchased those, I had no excuse not to be able to get back to that job, or no
Mm-hmm.
money not to get back to that job. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing is, I like to eat like everybody else. I didn't want to go sit in the cafeteria and look at everybody else eat, and we had one. So I made sure I put money aside for 2 weeks in this envelope so I could have lunch for the next 2 weeks. And then I took care of other things, living at home. You can't, my mother always said you can't live any place for free. So I had to pay my rent of $50 at the time. Okay.
Wow, $50.
Yeah, I paid 50, right? That was $50 for my room. That was for my room. That wasn't for the apartment. That was definitely for the room. But I took care of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do those things, they help you to manage things better. So to move on to the emergency fund, really, you do have to start somewhere. So I was started with the envelopes. So the envelopes, I'm sorry, I started with the envelopes. With the envelopes, I always have to put back what I take out. And at some point, and this is an adult, so these are years later, I'm already living here in GA, and I borrowed $5 for some reason. I had to take it out of whatever envelope it was. So I owe the account, and I went back to the bank, and I had the deposit slip, the money, and I think I had a roll of pennies, maybe it was 50 cents, and I put
Mm-hmm.
that in the thing. So the guy was working, he had his head down, he didn't see. When he finally took the stuff out and he looked at it, he looked up at me and I said, what? You looking at me because I'm putting my $5 back in my account? Are you crazy? Yeah, no. So when you said 5, 10, that's what brought the story to mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I pay myself back. You have to pay other people back. So pay
Mm-hmm.
yourself back and make sure you have that money. So with that said, I started small. Whatever money that was not left over, whatever money I deemed on my item line of expenses that was going towards savings, that's what I did. And one of the biggest things for the emergency fund you need is you never know where you're going to end up at any stage or age of life. So you work at a job. I'm going to say this story forever because sometimes it's a little funny to me. There's a little inside joke to it. You work at a job for 19 years and they restructure you out of your day job. What do? Now, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
25. I think we all know that. I'm not 25.
I heard that.
Right. So I'm gonna think, okay, which way you going with this? What do you do? But luckily for me, I did all the things that I preach about that helped me manage through this times because I didn't expect
Wow.
COVID.
Wow.
Who planned for COVID?
Wow.
I planned for the AC breaking down. I planned for the car breaking down. I planned for this, but I didn't plan for COVID.
I know a whole year shut down, right? So let me ask you this, Michelle. As you are talking about the emergency fund, the one thing that people always ask, and I have young people here in the studio with me, what would you say to them about an emergency fund? How much should they be saving, or what is the equivalent of, should it be 1 month of this, 1 month or 2 months of that? How do you equate that?
Okay, so this is the thing. I this is what really scares people. When you start telling them they have to save a month or 2 or 3 months of money, they get scared because how am I going to save $5,000?
Mm-hmm.
One leaf at a time when I talk about planting your money tree. So that same $5 you could be putting away because it will help. So it's not about, do I need to take out a whole $1,000 to put away? No. In your monthly budget, there's a line that says emergency fund, just like there's a line that says gas, electric, phone, internet, cable, streaming. Whatever you have, that's emergency fund is a line item. That's how you pay yourself first.
And I love the way you say the envelopes. I always talk about this, and I want to get your perspective because I started back to the envelope. And the reason I did was because I realized with COVID and with the money, the stock market, just the money exchange, that if anything were to happen, if we were to have a cataclysmic type of event to happen, banks gonna shut down. You're not gonna be able to run to the ATM. So I have been talking to my daughter who's 26, and I've been saying, honey, at least have a few $100s at home, something. What is your thought about that?
I love it because that's what I call the rainy day fund. See, people get it twisted. They only look at one thing, or should I do one? Should I do the other? Because I wrote a whole article about that on my newsletter, and I send it out, and anyone can sign up for that. No, I don't flood your inbox. I just send you one a month if you're lucky, but I try to give substance. So your rainy day fund are for things like that. So if you have maybe a flat tire, and trust me, if you drive, it's going to happen to you. I can tell you some stories. If you have a flat tire, you need to get some spark plugs for the car, or, and I say those kind of things because those are the little emergencies that come up. But those little things, have that emergency fund. It could be $500. And if that's something that you can keep at home so you can have access to it quickly, then that's great. Don't tell everybody, so people knocking down your door, but you know what you need to do. Your emergency fund is for long term. Your rainy day fund is for short term. So that's just a rainy day. The emergency fund is a monsoon. You losing your job. Okay.
That's it.
That's a monsoon,
That's it.
So that's the difference. And each one you can apply something to. So maybe you say, out of what you have after you meet all of your obligations, you have $100 left out of your paycheck. I could say a whole lot, but I'm going to say this: stay offline shopping. How about that? That's one thing.
And the subscriptions. I realized that I was looking, and I don't really look at Netflix and all of that, but I just realized, I was like, I got a Netflix subscription that I really wasn't paying attention to. And so as I was going through at the beginning of the year, I started looking at that. And I started telling my friends. One of my friends told me she got a safe. We had lunch a couple of weeks ago, and she said, T, she said, I've got a safe, and I have quite a few $1,000s in that safe. She said, I've been doing it for a few years. She said, because if anything happens, I get money to take care of me and my family. And I was like, girl, you go ahead. And when she said the big number 100K, I said, okay.
Well, if you think about it, if you watch any of the shows, because I'm a crime drama person, I love it, and sometimes it's the rich, either getting robbed or somebody doing something. What do they have? What do they go to? Or even sometimes it's the not so popular occupation of
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
dealing narcotics. Let me put it that way. They go in there safe because
Safe.
they gotta go through the underground to try to get out of town, but they pulling out dollars and dollars and
That's
dollars.
it.
You gleaming at the television saying, I wish that was my house. I wish that was my safe. Right. So you should have something. What if we just had a slight snowstorm kind of thing a system coming through, and I tell my mother all the time, look, if they say it's coming from Florida, we're going north. If they say it's going north and it's coming from Florida, we're going west. I'm going to get in my car and we're pulling out of here. You have to have something when you go there to pay for things, because sometimes with these storms, the banks do go out. Exactly. That has happened before. Even just some storm a few years ago. I went into the bank and they said, well, we can't do anything. We could do, wait a minute. I don't know. Can you sure you gonna put this deposit in here? I'll come back when the thing is up, because you need to give me my receipt to make sure, because I don't want you going home with my deposit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll come looking for you.
Exactly. So that's, so that's an aspect that I think we need to be teaching, especially now our younger generation that's coming up. Hey, have that, like you say, that rainy day. Keep that, if you got to keep it under the mattress like they used to do back in the day.
Something. Thank you. Something. They had mattresses or whatever, full of money, closets or barrels, whatever it is. And with the young people, I get it. You are inundated with so much stuff because you have been exposed to it for so long. You have television, you have, online, you have this, you have all this social media, everything is being thrown at you. So you feel like you have to keep up. The only person I ever felt like I had to keep up with, there's this lady right here.
It's me.
So I don't care what, everybody else has or what they're doing. I need to take care of this person. So if you have that mindset, those things will become easier to you, because it's not all young people. I know some people, younger people who are very well into this. This is what they do. You have all these movements out here. All of this stuff is not new. I keep telling people this is not new. It's not a new phenomenon. Or people talk about a house being an American dream. Well, I call it the prairie days. Everybody had a house. There were no apartment complexes to live in. Right. So how did it become the dream that you need 4,000 square feet just to have a home? I like those tiny home people. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been watching them all week because I'm
you said you might be getting a tiny home.
I'm saying,
downsize.
It's downsizing. You save some money when you get older, and if you don't have any kids to leave anything to or whatever, be like Warren Buffett. Let them take care of themselves. They working now, so whatever it is, live your life comfortably, and if that works for you, that's fine. But you have to have some type of plan. You have to have the mindset to do these things. And I tell the story all the time about me keeping that car for 16 years. That's what allowed me to even start an emergency fund.
Wow.
Instead of going to get another car after I finished making those long payments for 5 years, I was done. I said, I'm going to take some of that money and go start this thing.
Wow. So the money you used to pay that car note was the money that you still put aside.
And I use part of it for that, and then I use another part to start paying more and pay off those student loans.
So then that leads me to my next question about people struggling to stick to their budgets. Talk about that. Because it's those struggles that people have with sticking to a budget, even starting a budget. I can remember, and I'm just saying this for myself, I can remember back in the day, I said, man, how do I even start a budget? What do I need to do? And so, of course, back then didn't have online, so you had to go go to the library, and it showed you step by step, to really be able to say, okay, this is for the rent, this is for the car, this is for the car insurance, this and that. So talk about that, because it's people who struggle. Talk about that. Why so many people do that. Composition, no, but I bet you write down what you spend every day. Do you?
Not every day, because I'm past that. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I did all of that in the beginning. So I'm teaching everybody to get here so you can get to the level where you can invest and keep money coming in for you. I don't teach investment, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. And I want you, why are you trying to invest and you still can't even pay your bills? Or you borrowing money from me when I have investments? Stop it. So when you talk about the budget, I bring this up because, everything is on the computer. Everyone doesn't know Excel. Some people don't know how to work money management software like MS Money or QuickBooks something or Intuit, whatever. You don't know how to or Quicken. The personal version is Quicken. They don't know how to work that. But also, you can lose your information. I had my stuff on a flash drive, my own personal flash drive. One day I opened it up and it showed up as language I didn't understand. It wasn't English.
Wow.
And I'm here clicking on stuff and it says scan, you could fix it. Well, when I hit that one, it wiped out everything.
Ooh.
So all my budgets were going home renovation,
Wow.
this, I was done. So then I learned to back up, and back up. That's one thing. But you can lose your stuff. One thing I say about this, they never crash.
That's right.
Pen and paper never crash. I don't have to worry about you floating in the cloud or your site is down today and I can't access my stuff. This is right here. Because the backlash of people say, well, what if there's a fire? To me, I look at that like lightning. You have like that 1 point whatever percent that will probably happen to you. And if that's the case, you should have one of those fireproof safes where you keep, or even a bucket. It doesn't have to be an actual safe. It could be one of the hand carry ones where you put personal things so you can have that. But you have no excuse when it comes to doing that, because that's what Big Mama did. And she said she was going to retire with some money. And that's the other lady's grandmother. Yes, she did it. You can do it too. And I tell people all the time, it's very simple. You start out with the top line. You could put your family name. It could be McCotry Corporation, income. You write down all the income you get, whether it's from a W-2, a 1099, alimony, side hustle, other hustle over here, whatever you want to put down. You add them all up, because what people will do is they only want to add the net pay from a paycheck. They want to leave all the other stuff and try to work with that. No, they can't live off that, and then spend all of that other money on foolishness.
Gotcha.
That's all you're doing. It's not math. It's personal finance and accounting is a language. So the only math you're doing is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And we all learned that in the first, second, third grade, hopefully. That's all you're doing. Your next step after that is you're going to write down the word expenses. You put a line and you write down every expense you have, including rainy day fund, emergency fund. Don't leave that out. And you need to put down, if your kids are in a club or a program and you have to pay every quarter for them to have, whatever supplies, you're going to put down that amount, because you still have to pay it out of your pocket. If you only remember it when it comes up, you're using that guy on that commercial. He says, I do have a car, but I can't drive it because I don't have insurance. My daughter's birthday. Okay, you had a child and you forgot you had her birthday was coming. She's still alive. So I wrote a whole article about that because that commercial just ticked me off. Your daughter. Okay, so anyway, write all that stuff down. And when you list everything, you will truly see, are you living above your means? Are you living below your means? You living at your means? And if you're living below your means, that means you have enough to cover all of your expenses, not just the ones you have for living expenses. Then you know what you can do next, because that leftover money, or that excess money, not even leftover, that's where you start making your moves. Now, if you don't have any excess money, that's when you make changes on your expenses.
Wow. And then the other thing, we've only got about another minute, but I want you to talk about paying yourself, because you just made that so plain in the beginning. How important is it to pay yourself, and how do you calculate that?
So when I'm writing down those expenses for whomever it is, I'm going through here and I look at everything that I put, everything that is. I may leave that out in the beginning because I want to see what's left over. Because if you truly don't have any money left over after you put your housing expenses and your transportation and all those normal things, the needs, the true needs, then it's going to be hard to find that extra money. That's in that case, you would probably go back through your expenses and see where you can cut back to drum up that money. And you may just need to get a second job. That happened to me. I looked at everything. I said, "There's nothing else for me to cut back
Well,
because I
me
did
too.
not have cable. I already told you I refuse to pay to watch
Yeah,
television. You
you
must be out of
should.
your mind. I grew up with
You,
free, and you gonna
you
make
should.
me pay to watch the idiot box? Okay,
So, do you have a fire stick?
okay, yes and no.
Okay.
I didn't buy that, and I was like, okay. It took. Oh, I didn't have Wi-Fi. That's what it was back then. I think I told you that before. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not paying all of this. If it doesn't work by the antenna, I won't see that station.
Okay. All right.
That's what's up. So when people talk, they can call me cheap if you want to, but cheap allowed me to survive for 2 years after they told me to kick rocks from that job.
Amen. Look at that. Look at God. Look at that.
He had
Wow.
my hand all the way.
Wow.
So when you go through that list, see where you can cut back. If you
Okay.
can't cut back, you might need to get a second job. I did that. I worked at Jackson Hewitt for 2 seasons
Mm-hmm.
to help with some things and get things in order, and that's what you do until you can pay off some of the debt that you have and maybe increase your income. Where you work, you might get a raise or get another job that pays you more, and then you go from there. You have to determine the amount. Maybe the only thing you can put away is $50 in your emergency fund and $20 in your rainy day. You
Mm-hmm.
actually make that decision because you know what you're looking at. If you have someone like me helping you, then I will help you determine what that is when we go through your information. But we
Okay.
still have to get there.
Well, Michelle, hold that thought because we're going to come right back. Listen, thank you so much, Michelle. I tell you what, this is exciting and it's great to hear about money, about finances. I love it. I love it. All right. So we're going to be right back. Listen, folks, don't sit back and relax because as I tell you, we're coming right back with Michelle Alexander.
The Curry Insurance Agency has served the community for over 30 years with hundreds of trained representatives to assist you in selecting health plans. Curry Insurance Agency is the largest marketing insurance group in the state of South Carolina for Medicare Advantage and represents all major health carriers. Curry's motto is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Call the Curry Agency today at 803-536-0889. The Cecil Williams South Carolina Civil Rights Museum is the Palmetto State's first and only museum. It honors a generation of people, black and white, throughout the state of South Carolina who deserve to be remembered for their unselfish commitments and sacrifices. Enjoy an immersive and entertaining virtual tour. For more information, visit www.cecilwilliams.com.
Welcome back to the show. Listen, if you're just joining us for the second half, we have Michelle Alexander, our Chief Money Management Officer, owner of AJM Financial. And we've been talking about finances. Listen, this is the best time I have about talking about finances, about money, because it can be boring, Michelle.
Yes.
When other folks talking, they're talking about, well, this, you need to put this aside and have that and do this. But you are bringing it to us real, live, and in living color. And I love it. I love it. So now
Thank
we
you.
talked about, we just left off with talking about paying yourself, and talking about the struggles that people have with personal finances. So I wanted to talk to you about the common mistakes that people make when they're financial, as they're planning their finances. What are some of those mistakes that people make?
Thinking they have more money than they do. That's one of them. But or they have this grand lifestyle because they can charge, or live that kind of way, and swipe and worry about it later. But I want to say that it's some of it's a lack of knowledge too. Let me go that route. Some of it's a lack of knowledge. They don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
Just how we talked about the budgeting and how to break it down. That's where I get a lot of pushback from clients because they're like, it's almost like the fear of restriction. I don't know how to do that. I've never seen, anybody do that. But that's a common mistake, is not budgeting at all. How do you know what you have going in and going out? I tell people, you need to run your household like a corporation. Because when they cut back, it's your job.
That's right. That's right.
They're not thinking for them, that's just an expense and they're getting their money back. For you, that's your life. That's your family. That's everything you have to take care of. So you need to know the cash, is it called a cash flow statement in accounting, the ins and
Mhm.
outs of your cash. How can you do that if you're not keeping track of anything? You throw receipts in the drawer, in the trash, or whatever. You never check them after you're out on a spending spree for the day. I don't care if you had to buy food and you stopped at this store and this store and this store. When you get home, look at that and see what you've actually spent. So when I'm asking people to track their expenses, that's all you have to do. If you do that at least for 30 days, you will be able to see how much you really spend. I taught
Mhm.
that at my first, I think I talked about it before, the first boot camp that I did
Yeah.
for friends. I did the
You
same
have.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. So when you do that, it had me look at myself. I'm like, wait a minute. So you get to see. If you never look at that, you'll always think that you have a lot because you can spend and buy here. Lose that job. Not just the job, lose that income for whatever reason. And that
And
will
you
change things.
And you're talking about your first when you were doing that. I think we have a picture that you sent us of one of your
Events.
seminars, one of your events that you did.
Oh,
Yes,
yes. Yes.
yes,
That's ABWA. That's where I met
that's
you.
that's right in Atlanta.
Yes. Oh
That,
my gosh. Yes.
that's right.
Well, they that chapter, the Atlanta chapter, they had a membership drive. And that was the
Mhm,
membership drive. So they wanted to offer that to see what, being a part of ABWA, I guess, has to offer. So there were a few ladies in that room. And that one I think I did on credit though. That was a total
mhm.
credit repair workshop. And but yeah, you have to know exactly what's going on with your money. You cannot be afraid to sit down and look at what you spend. And people are afraid like if I look at it, then I won't be able to have this. One
Mhm.
thing I do know, I'd rather not have that today than to not have it ever again.
That's right. And the one thing, Michelle, when we're talking about, you just said something, the credit. And Tiana asked this question: how should you go about increasing your credit score? What are some of the things that you can do? And I know you love talking about credit too.
And what's so funny, you said something before about it being boring and this, that, and the other. On one of the latest YouTube video, I talked about that in the beginning, that I come to you without a bunch of jargon. I don't want you to say, oh, this is you, like you said, to put this amount, this amount. Let me tell you this, okay? So when you talk about getting credit, it's just the same thing. I mean, increasing your score and having good credit, it's the same thing. There are really 4 items. Anybody can look them up online. There are 4 things that affect your score. The main one that has the heaviest weight, which is 35%, is payments on
One
time.
time. Yes.
If you don't do anything else and you do that, you would have decent credit.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
people will not pay their bills on time because of all the things I said before. They don't have it because they were doing some wrong mistakes before. Maybe they don't make enough. If you don't make enough, then you have to make a way to get that money, whether it's the second job or the side hustle, or ask for a raise, or find you another job that pays more money, because no one's gonna to supply your or support your lifestyle. I don't care which employee you work at, they're not doing that. They just want to pay you for that
Mhm.
job and you can get on. But that's what you have to do. Pay your bills on time, even if it's just the minimum.
That's right. That's right. I
Look,
learned that. I
yeah,
learned, and a gentleman told me the other day, because I'm looking for a car. And he said, "Well, one thing I can say, that you pay your bills on time." I said, "Hey, I got to, like you say, even if it's the minute, if it's $25, I'm paying it."
it's $25 because you think about it, right? Like you said, you were in this accident and now you have to get this car.
Yeah.
Having tore up credit, and I'm gonna say it just that way, tore up credit.
Hello.
You might not get what you want. And if you do, you paying way more than you need to for it. Why would you want to give somebody extra money on it? You
Yeah.
want to go in and have your loan together before you even get to the dealership, so you control how much interest rate you have, so you can get that 1.9 interest rate.
Exactly.
Some people don't even know what that is. Like, what? What's a 1.9? Yes,
1.9.
yes,
That's
they're
right.
out there and they
That's
are available.
that's
And
right.
so if you do that, you're fine. But if you're not going to pay on time, and you mess up on the other three areas because you don't need to open a credit card. I know people hear this all the time, but for some reason it doesn't seem to sink in. I don't care what, when I come to the line, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's at Target or
Mm-hmm.
Walmart, I'm sorry to say the names, or whatever store, retail store, let me say that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me, do I want to save 10%? Because see, I
Yeah.
might want to get in a conversation with you, but I have to check myself because I am out in the public. I'm not trying to get shot over. I asked you a question or you said something to me. No,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't need
And
it.
people, they entice you. Even the home store. I went into the home store to buy some decorations or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And she says, "Oh, we can save you 10% if you open up a at home." I said, nobody checking my credit. Nope. Mm-mm. And see,
Well,
that's me. I'm like, no, you're not gonna check my credit because I don't want that hard inquiry.
absolutely. That's another thing. The hard inquiries. Now they still don't weigh as much, but you don't
Right.
need to do that if you're out Saturday and you go to 5 different stores and 5 different people are checking. And not only that, that 10% is only on that day's purchase.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
about the rest of the time I'm using this card? You gonna give me 10% for the life of the card? Then we can talk.
Yeah. And so, what are the other two areas for the credit?
You know
For
what is
score.
funny? When I have my slides, I know it off the top of my head.
So so
One
so
of
I
them,
know.
well, okay, I think 10%, 35% is the paying on time. The other
Right.
big one is your credit utilization. So if you have a credit limit of 10,000 and your balance is 999, that's already a ding against your report and on your credit score. You're so high to the limit, you have no room to go. And they're
Exactly.
looking at that like if you do lose your job, what about our money? Because
Mhm.
I'm telling you now, you ask me to borrow some money and you lose your job. Because I know that's, I'm sorry, but you gonna pay me my $500. I'm gonna be thinking. You think these people are not thinking that? That's all they're thinking about because they don't know you.
Right. That's
So
right.
again, those are the two top things: the 30 and the 30 and the 35. The other
Mhm.
one is like 10%. That might be and if not the inquiries, it could be the length and the history, and
Oh,
then
right. That's
the
right.
other
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So when I tell people all the time, there's both arguments out there about closing and not closing credit. And I tell people it depends on what you're doing. Right now, you're in the middle of looking for a car. You need to keep everything smooth. You don't need to make any moves, any big changes, because you want everything to look good. After you get the car, I'm not saying do what you want, but you can do what you want. So if you're looking for something, you want to keep everything smooth. That's why when you're buying a home, people will tell you, don't make any sudden withdrawals. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's the same thing.
Thing.
Keep
Right.
your
That's
credit
right.
straight then. And what I did was I did close an account that I had for a while because I wanted to switch from that card to a card that had lower interest rate. I was
Mhm.
never going to use that card again. But by
Mhm.
that time, I already owned a home. When I owned a home, I already mortgaged a home, and I already had the car. So
Mhm.
there was nothing I
Mhm.
was looking for. So
Right.
you could do what you
You
want.
could do what you want to do. Yeah, I've heard that, Michelle, that people say, well, if I pay that card off, and just like a situation right now, pay that card down, my credit shot up maybe 20 points. And I don't need the card. I'm not going to ever use that again. But I was told, well, no, you need to hold on to it. And because then your credit's going to go in the tank.
Well, it's two things. If you have no other credit, and this is the only card that you have, and you don't have a lot of credit, I wouldn't suggest close it. If I'm telling you to do something, it's going to be at a point that it's okay to do. I had other credit. I had student loans. I had a house. I had a car. What
Mhm.
else do you need from me? Blood?
Mhm. Yeah.
No,
That
so that was okay for me to do at the time. But because of people not really knowing what they're doing, that's a safe way to go, to just say leave it.
leave it
Because if you're
open.
a person who doesn't really know what you're doing and you close that, now you messed up your length of history, the this, the that. No, but that was not an issue for me. And that's why it is helpful to talk to someone with your personal finances so they can help you through that process,
Mhm.
and help tell you if that's a good idea or not. But I would
Exactly.
not tell people, if I, just to have it on your report. If you have other things, especially as a grown adult, a young
Mhm.
person starting out, they may not want to do that. But a grown adult, you probably have things already and you're going to be fine.
All right. So let's talk about the apps. There are these apps, and you talked about a little earlier for
Mhm.
financial planning. How do you feel about them, or what advice would you have, or strategies would you have to say about using the apps for financial planning?
For me, I don't, because yeah, I'm borderline old school. I'm always in between the
But
generations.
we talking to the younger generation right now, so
Right. So I'm saying for me, I don't. But I don't discourage it because you have to use what's comfortable for you. I
mhm,
say if it works, use it. If it allows you and causes you to save that rainy day money, to save that emergency funny. Don't overspend. No, you can't go out for drinks tonight. No, you have to wait till the next week. No, whatever it is, it helps you to get through that, then use it.
mhm,
Don't sit
mhm.
around and not use anything, or I don't want the old way, but they say don't use the new one and you do nothing because nothing, because I keep saying it. The last time I checked, nothing times nothing
Nothing
is
leaves
nothing.
nothing. Who
Right.
said that?
That's that song, Billy Preston.
Billy
Feeling
Preston.
all
Nothing
my age
leaves
now.
nothing leaves
But
nothing.
yes, and I
Yeah.
wanted to sing it that way. It's like nothing from nothing leaves
Nothing leaves
nothing.
nothing. You
You
gotta
gotta
have
have
something.
something. Yeah.
If
So
you want to be with me, yeah,
me.
that's right. Okay, we going. They back there cracking up. They're like, we never heard that song
I
before.
know they haven't,
And,
but it's a true
and,
song. That's not, that's just a fact right there. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
leaves
Math is
nothing.
never lying. Math
Mhm.
doesn't lie, just like the
That's right.
science. So
That's
zero
right.
times zero equals zero. So if you do nothing about your finances when you 50, that's what you're gonna have.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that's the consequences of not even having a financial plan. Just like you said, if you don't do anything, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. If you don't do anything, it's not going to work.
No.
Let's talk about some myths about money management. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but
Mhm.
kind of give us some other myths about money management.
Ooh, it's hard. That's one of the biggest things I think that is hard. It's restricting. I don't have a degree in that. I don't know. I think those are the biggest things. And
Mm,
also, too, that, if you don't have a lot of money, you don't have anything to manage. That's another myth. You have to manage whatever you have. Because if you
mhm.
teach your child to manage money, whoever you are, and you pay them an allowance, you want them to manage that $5, right?
Oh yes. Oh
Okay, so
yes.
what's the difference with you? So you make 25, 30,000. You don't have a lot. You still need to know how to manage it, because then that person will be the person. I want to make more money. I want to have this. I want to have that. If you can't manage 25, how in the heck do you think you're going to manage 50? You're going to do the same
Mm,
exact things because your DNA has not changed.
mhm.
You're going to
Exactly.
keep doing that same thing over and over. So that
Yeah.
I just think those are some bad myths. They really are. And that it's hard. I say this. My grandmother raised 8 children with a husband. Let me say that. There was no baby daddies and mamas around there, with a husband. And they made it.
Yeah, I mean, I read an article, and this wasn't too long ago, about a woman that left $100,000,
I know who you're talking about.
and
I did
she
a video
was
about that.
right. She was a
She
domestic
washed
worker, a
clothes.
maid, right? Yes, and
She
she
did
left
laundry.
$100,000. Was it Tuskegee? It was an HBCU.
150.
150. It was an
I think her
HBCU.
name is Ociela McCarthy or something, or
Yes,
not
something
not
like that.
yeah. I did it because I had a
Oh
story. It was
man.
in a newspaper. I was back home and I read that, and that's a key thing. When I talk about it in that video, it was a YouTube video I did last year, the year before.
Hmm.
This woman made that kind of money and was able to secure her retirement and donate the rest to this college because she had to drop out of 6th grade and couldn't go to school. She wanted to pay for somebody else. So that
Wow.
young girl that she paid for, that girl adopted her as her grandmother because that lady had no children.
Isn't that something? So that goes to show us that, like you said, it's really not hard.
It's not hard.
It's not hard, and especially for younger people now, it's important that you start now. Just like I've been talking to my daughter, now they're making 60, 70, $80,000. I mean, they're coming out the gate making this kind of
Make
money.
some a
And
100,000.
thank you. And I'm like, okay, now is you 26. Now is the time for you to buckle down. You getting this big salary. Start doing that budget. Okay, mama, I know, mama. You know, and but she is listening
Good.
because there are things that she said, you know, this is what I'm going to do. She just started Amazon. Proud of you, kitty cat. And she just,
Congratulations.
yeah, she just said, mama, these are the things that I have. This is the savings that I want. I'm going to use this. She said, just because I'm making more now, I'm not going to live off of the increase. I'm going to live off of what I was making. So I listen, when she said
Now,
that,
doesn't that sound like common sense to
okay,
you?
God, maybe I didn't do right, but she do it, you know.
She doing it. But doesn't that sound like common sense to you?
It
That didn't
does.
come from some big time book or big show or big
Exactly.
time person. That's
Exactly.
common
Common
sense.
sense. Yeah. So I'm proud of, I'm proud of when she told me that. I was like, okay. I looked at the phone. You know how you look at your phone and you say, huh? Did I
I've
hear
done that
that right?
before.
But I'm proud of her. And it's people like you that keep me motivated. And I want to give you all your props and just thank you so very much. Because like I say, you are the Tammy Show financial advisor, and I really appreciate everything. So one last thing I want to ask you about. We've got about 7, 8 more minutes now.
Mhm.
Talking about steps for a solid, future in finance. What does that look like? What do we need to be doing? What are those steps?
You know, you've asked me that question before, and I've been asked that question a number of times especially over the past, 2 years with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard not to share your own story, and the reason I say this because I still keep saying the same thing. It's SAVE,
Mm.
save. You said it earlier about the saving in the mattress or under in the
Mm-hmm.
bag or wherever at the house in case anything happens. We brought up valid things that actually happen. It
Happened.
could be the storm coming through. The storm could be, again, you lost your job or everybody had to shut down or, you were in an accident. That's a serious thing.
That's right.
If you don't do anything else but do that, at least you have something to fall back on. And all it takes is for you to put some money away. I told my aunt, and this is so funny. I told her, I said, the only regret I have out of all of this is I didn't save more. She said,
Wow.
oh, what's funny? She said, no, I don't agree with
I
that.
don't. I don't. That's what I was going to say.
She
What?
said, I don't agree with that. She said, how long you been out of work? It was just so funny, that whole conversation. I loved it because, and I get it that people say that, but at the end of the day, more is always better.
Mm-hmm.
It's always better. So, and I think about, again, inflation. Food is like doubled
Oof.
in the last 2 years. And I'm going to say this. I can say it's not a brand name, but I can say what the article is. I may have mentioned it before. Went to the store. Yeah, I take a couple, two people with me. I have I call my senior friends, but one's my mom. So, but we go to the store. She introduced me to these thick and fluffy waffles. Oh, they are good. Yeah, I was like, I got off frozen waffles. I was like, I'll just make me some pancakes or whatever. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into these. I'm home. It's COVID, and I don't have to go nowhere. And I'm lathering with butter and syrup. They were good. Ate them for the rest of the year. Now they told you in 21 that the food prices were going up, and
Right.
they did.
Mm-hmm. That's
I
right.
went in that supermarket. They went from 296 or 298. Now they were 349. And guess what?
You didn't buy them.
They stayed on the shelf because I buy that pancake mix, and I have a waffle maker because I brought one of kind
Yeah,
when you go stay at the hotel and you flip it over.
that's it.
You better put that egg and the water in there and keep going or whatever you're doing. But I
That's right.
refuse. You can't have all my money.
Yeah.
Because when you have what you have to live on and you have no income coming in, you're basically on a fixed income.
That's
So if
right.
you don't know how to manage that money, you're going to be in trouble.
That's right.
And I tell you one thing I really like is sleeping indoors.
Oh,
I
sleeping.
don't do outdoor inclement weather because it snowed hard the other day on Sunday. I saw it
Yes,
rain.
it did.
And I said, oh, hold up. I'm so glad I'm inside. Thank you, Lord. I got heat. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it over and over. That Good Time show, when that lady had that dog food can in that trash, and Michael saw it and said, I didn't know Miss Gertie had a dog. Wait a minute. I don't even do dogs. Now, I tell people all the time, so I'm not trying to eat. dog food. I
Wow.
want to eat regular food. Now I could give up the waffles, but everything has gone up. I could name many things that I was buying, and I looked, I said, okay, it went up a little bit. I still got this. But when I saw that last increase on something
Yep.
else, it stayed in the store. When they go on sale, buy one, get one
Get
free.
one free.
I will be there getting that.
That's right.
Outside of that, I could live without that.
That's right.
I can do better with my eating habits. So it's okay to leave that behind.
So save.
Save.
That is the
That's
biggest step.
it. Now, of course, you need to watch your spending. Again, make sure you're not overspending. Watch your receipts. Check yourself. Those are the biggest things. Those are the common sense things that you do. But above all, you want to be able to save because you don't know what your tomorrow is going to bring. You could be in
Mm-hmm.
that great job today and they come in, call everybody in and say, well, we're going to have to close for so and so. And you're like, what? I just started here.
Wow. Wow.
And it
I
has
tell you,
happened.
I tell you what, Michelle, we could go on and on and on. And you're gonna come back again for part two in the half of the year, so we can see how we're doing. I'll share with you how I'm doing, and you'll share with me how you're doing. But I do want to ask you, what's in store for AGM Financial in the new year?
So AJM Financial is just working on pulling back a little to regroup and see kind of which direction I want to take this in, and more things I want to focus on, especially during this pandemic, because I didn't do a good job of pivoting that because I kept thinking, oh, it's going to be over in a minute. To be honest, I really did. I had no idea it was going to be 2 years in, so I have to think of other ways that I absolutely want to handle this. In terms of doing more virtual events,
Mm-hmm.
doing the workshops and even working with schools, because it's a passion for me to work with classes. Because one of the other pictures now that's what I thought was coming up. It was a picture I sent where I did
Yeah,
for what was it, it was Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. We
Yeah,
got
it was
the
the Georgia
picture.
Tech.
We
And
got it. Let's show that, Tiana.
yes, it's one with we have a green shirt, and yes, okay. So that workshop, that's when I found out I was losing my job, and I didn't care. I was so happy because that I knew I was going to that event, and the young lady was with me, great intern, another good intern like Tiana, wonderful. But I love the fact that I was able to speak to those young kids and how I knew they were listening,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end I asked you three things. So every three people get to win something. I want to have something to give away.
Mm-hmm.
And you sometimes you think they're not paying attention because they were serving food. So of course, they
Mm-hmm.
showed up for that. But every person I did ask the question was able to answer me back something they learned from that. And that's what made me happy. Because I know they'll walk away with that throughout college and when they get their job. That is something that they'll take away with them. And my name was on the back of the t-shirt, so I was excited about that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, I am just so excited that you're on the show. We've only got a couple of minutes, which
Yes.
means 2 minutes left. And I always ask you about a takeaway. Give us a takeaway in like one sentence.
Don't be afraid to not keep up with the Joneses. Let me know. I'm going to say another name because that's Joneses is
Yeah,
old. We need to go with a new name. But in this world of we want to sue everybody. I'm gonna just keep it simple.
right. I
Don't
got
be
you.
afraid not to keep up with the Joneses.
Okay, that's it. Don't be afraid. And tell
Not
me
to
three
keep up with the
now.
Joneses.
Now we're in a new year. Give me 3 words that describe you.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm writing.
Mindful,
Mm-hmm.
happy,
Happy. Mm-hmm.
and still funny.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Listen, Michelle, thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
I love you, my darling, and you have just shared so much information. And for those that are listening, you can get in touch with Michelle by going to her LinkedIn page, her YouTube page, and yes, please check out her YouTube Talks, Tuesday Talks with Mimi. Great information. Always giving us great information. So,
Thank you.
Michelle, thank you again, and I will see you soon. I may be in Atlanta soon. Okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, bye bye.
All right. Bye bye. I tell you what, if you haven't learned anything, if you didn't learn anything tonight, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyway, we had a great time. So I want to thank you again, viewers, for tuning in to Tammy. I want to thank Michelle. Thank you for all that you do. Next week, we're going to be talking with the Power of Now series. We're going to be talking with Andre Amager. And I tell you what, he's a stroke survivor, and he'll tell you how many strokes he's had. And it's just a fantastic story, a phenomenal story. But I want to welcome Willie Daniels to the team. He is our going to be one of the producers working with Tiana, another intern, and Daquan is here. He's going into business, and so I want to thank them for being in the studio. And you know, Tiana, I always want to thank you, my assistant producer, for doing what you do, girl. And again, our executive producer, along with me, Alicia and Catherine. And I want to tell you, please subscribe to the Tammy TV Show on YouTube. It's the Tammy TV Show on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button. Remember, let's be a blessing to someone today and every day. And have a safe and wonderful week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.